So I'm only about 9 months into this adventure of owning a boat like this. I've never owned a sailboat before in my life, for starters, and then certainly have never owned a boat that has the number of systems with all their complexity that this boat has. I've only ever owned a small wakeboarding boat before, so this is all new to me. And whenever I leave the boat for more than a day or two, the handful of times that I've left to go back home for a week or so, I never really get comfortable. I worry about it the whole time. And I know there's nothing I can do about something happening to the boat in its slip, but what I'm concerned about primarily is losing shore power. And since I leave the air conditioning running when I'm away from the boat, if I lose shore power, it's more than likely going to drain the batteries down to zero faster than the solar panels can keep up. And in that case, I'm going to lose all air conditioning, I'm going to lose all my refrigeration, everything in the refrigerators is going to go bad, and I'm going to have melted ice and water all over the floor. And it's just a concern for me. The air conditioner itself, if the raw water strainer would get clogged, then it's going to shut the AC down. And although the electrical is fine, I'm still going to come back to a boat that's been left hot and humid and potentially walk into a boat full of mold, which is just a nightmare scenario for me. So I've been worrying about it the whole time. I've just come to realize and learn that the Victron system that Just Catamarans installed on the boat has the ability to connect to the internet via Wi-Fi connection and send a bunch of information back to the Victron servers that I can then access via Victron's remote management portal. So I've been worrying all this time, and turns out I didn't really need to. Now, the one piece of information that the Victron system does not collect by default would be the cabin or salon temperature and humidity. So I actually was able to find this device here. It's called a Ruuvi. It's a Bluetooth enabled temperature and humidity sensor. And I didn't find it on Amazon. I actually found it from a company called vanlifeoutfitters.com. So I ordered from them. It was $45, including shipping. And I was able to connect that device via Bluetooth to the Victron unit. And that information also cascades back to the Victron servers, and I can access that from my cell phone or laptop or whatever. So I'm going to show you how to go through the process, which isn't really difficult, but it's a little bit tedious. And scrolling through the screens and configuring your Victron system to connect to Wi-Fi, whether that be a marina Wi-Fi or I recently have Starlink on the boat, so I'm running my own local network on the boat. But number one, connect that unit to the internet via Wi-Fi, and then number two, configure it to periodically send the relevant information back to Victron so that you can access it via their portal. And then number three, how to establish an account with Victron and connect your Victron account to your Victron installation here on the boat so that you can access that information that's being sent to them. So I'll start with the Victron unit that I have over there, and we'll get it all set up and I'll show you how that's done. Okay, so from the Victron GX screen, we just have to get into the main menu, and we're going to go to settings. First thing that we need to do is connect this to an internet connection. So from settings, we'll scroll down until we see Wi-Fi and select Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi networks. And you can see that I am connected to the network on my boat. Game of Thrones fans will recognize that reference. But you could connect to any other network just by clicking on it and then enter your password, the password for the marina Wi-Fi, or if you have a network set up on your boat, then you already know what that is. But you'd hit the check mark. I'm going to hit X and back out since I am already connected to Wi-Fi. But that is the first step in this process. After that, you're going to want to go back to the main menu and settings. And if it's not been connected to the internet in the past, there's a good chance that your firmware needs to be updated. So from the main settings page, click firmware like I just did. I'm running version 2.87. Side note for the Ruuvi sensor tag,
you must be running at least version 2.80 for it to be able to connect with another Bluetooth device. So the way that you'll upgrade that, if you need to, is just go to online updates now that you are online and check for updates. So press to check. It will make a quick check and telling me that I have an update available and I could update to 2.89. I'll do that a little bit later since it's not critical because I already have 2.87. Let's see, the next thing that we need to do is configure the VRM online portal. So if we go to menu and settings and go to VRM online portal, right here is going to be the VRM portal ID. It's the unique identifier for your system, and it's how you're gonna tie your account with Victron to your actual boat. So write that VRM portal ID down, and you'll use that later when you set up your account at Victron. The next thing to do is look at the log interval. It defaults at 15 minutes. I set mine to 1 minute because if I'm logging into the system, I'd rather see as real-time data as possible. So I switched mine to 1 minute. I don't see any reason why not. And then the next thing that you want to do is scroll down where it says VRM two-way communication and make sure that that is turned on. So once you've done that, you can back out to the main system setup menu, settings, system setup, and you'll see here where it says monitor for shore disconnect. Check that that is enabled. I don't remember what the default was, but if you enable that, if your shore power is disconnected, this will actually send an alert back to the Victron servers, which can then trigger an email or a notification to you that, hey, you've been disconnected from shore power. So that, I believe, gets everything set up for Victron and the connectivity to their system. Now the last thing that we can do, if you have one of those Bluetooth temperature sensors, is configure it to work with the GX module here. So from the main menu, main settings menu, we have to scroll all the way to I/O, input output devices. You'll see something that says Bluetooth sensors. Click that. You'll see Ruuvi and some random number for their device. Make sure that that is turned on and enabled. And then once you do that, the Ruuvi device will start talking with your Victron system and sending temperature, sending temperature information. You'll see mine says salon temp. Initially that will say some random sensor like generic Ruuvi or generic Bluetooth temperature sensor. Just click it and you can go to device and change the name just by selecting it, and it'll pull up a keyboard and change the name there. So it has some meaning to you instead of junk on the screen. So yeah, now we have salon temp and it's in degrees Celsius. I'm not able to find where I can change that to Fahrenheit because Celsius means nothing to me. But I'm not really concerned with the readout on here because I'm on the boat. But this information is being sent to the Victron servers, as I mentioned. And when you log in remotely, you can actually configure your user account to display the temperature in Fahrenheit instead of Celsius. So that's all that really matters is when I'm away from the boat. Anyway, so that wraps up what we need to do on the Victron unit itself.
And now we just need to get a Victron remote management portal account and pair that account with the information that's being sent from the boat. So the first thing that you need to do is go to victronenergy.com and click on login, and it's VRM Victron Remote Management Portal. And here's where you would normally log in. Obviously, before you have an account, you just register for one. Simple, basic information. So just go ahead and fill it out and click register. It will send you an email so that you can verify your account, and I believe it automatically logs you in. After you log in, I'll have to insert the screenshot that I took when I did this myself. It's already paired my account with my installation on my boat. And I'll put a screenshot here that after you log in the first time, it's going to ask you for that Victron portal ID number that you wrote down, that I had blurred out earlier on in the video. That's unique to your system, and once you supply that information, it pairs that with your account so that when you log in, which I'm going to do right now, log in VRM, I'll cut this part out. Okay, now that I've logged in, it shows my installation here, and if I click on it, this actually is a little bit more familiar view. It's similar to what shows up on the display. Well, there's my salon temperature. So I can see that in the last 24 hours, it maxed out at 79 degrees. That didn't trip an alarm that I have set, which I'm going to show you how to configure here in just a second. A couple of things here that you're going to want to do. For the salon temp, it is in Fahrenheit. I had to go in and change that setting. So back here from the main menu, I went to preferences and profile, and it then shows the option to change your temperature unit to Fahrenheit if that's what you would prefer, which I do, so I did that. And then if we go back to the dashboard for the boat, and I go to, where is it? Settings and alarm rules. Here's where I've configured the parameters for the temperature sensor to send me an alert if it gets either too hot or too cold on the boat. And the easiest way to do that is you just click add new alarm, and you can pick any of the devices that are connected to the Victron system. There's the Ruuvi tag there, but I could connect to the servo, and it's going to give me all kinds of fancy parameters here that I'm not super sure how to use yet. Hoping maybe somebody who's more of an expert in this than I am can maybe add to this conversation and help us all. And but here, just to show you what I did with the what I did with the Ruuvi sensor. There's the Ruuvi tag. I selected that. The parameters that are associated with that, obviously, are temperature, humidity, and pressure related. And I just configured a temperature alert that says if it gets too low and if it gets too high, to send me an alert that lets me know that that's what's going on. So I've already done that. Let me back out. And there's my alarms. The automatic alarm monitoring are for system alarms. This is the type of alarm, you don't have to set it up separately, it's already built in, where we had the shore power disconnect that I showed you a little bit earlier on the screen. We turned that alarm on, basically, on the system. So if for any reason I lose shore power, that's going to trigger an alert as well. So I hope me showing you this process was helpful. Like I said, I stumbled through it the first time. I'm kind of middle of the road, technical savviness wise. And for those maybe who are not quite as technically savvy, it makes it easier. And for those who understand the system a lot better than I do, I get the sense that I've just scratched the surface with the functionality that could be available. So for anybody who knows more about this, I'd love to participate in a conversation so that I can get more out of the system. And well, like I said, it lets me sleep better at night at this point, but if I can do more, I'd love to learn more. So hope it helps someone. Oh, look who's here. Hi. Bye. Wave.